Hello, welcome to another video. After my most recent video, it is blatantly obvious that I should probably learn git switch and git restore. Those are two new commands that are meant to replace most of the functionality of git checkout and git reset. Those commands were added in git 2.23 because git's surface area is a little bit all over the place, and especially with checkout and reset doing a whole bunch of overlapping behaviors and confusing behaviors, and they're just a little bit overloaded. We're gonna go over the 10 things that those two commands do, more like 11, and I'm gonna show you the replacements using the new commands for all of those operations, except for two of them, because there's no replacement for some of the stuff that reset does. But anyway, let's jump into it. We're going to clone a repository and use that as our example for today. We'll use ASD pretty. It doesn't really matter what repository I'm going to use. I'm going to be making some changes and then discarding or adding or moving them around. And I'm going to show you first the old commands and then the new commands. And I guess I will show you my notes at the end if that is helpful as well, because I have written out all of the various commands. Okay, so the first one that we're going to start with, which is probably the checkout command that I use the most, which is the one to create a new branch. So by default, we're on a branch, and I almost always use this command to create a new branch, which is git checkout a source, some sort of source location. I'm almost always using origin/main. And then -b, which is create a new branch, and then my branch name. So like my feature branch. So this is the checkout version, the old version of how to create a branch. Git switch has an equivalent of this, which is git switch. It looks very much the same, git switch origin/main, except instead of -b, it's -c for create. We're going to switch and create a branch, my feature branch 2. And after that is all said and done, we've created 2 branches. Created in basically the same way, I think. Yeah, and this also has the same tracking information as the other one does. So that's the first operation, creating a branch from a source. The next is, I guess, probably the most obvious one, which is switching between branches. This is probably the one where switch, I think, actually makes the most sense. This is a good improvement here. If we want to switch from one branch to another, you just do git switch. This is the equivalent to the old command git checkout. So we wanted to switch from my feature branch to my feature branch 2, you can do that too. And I think you can even do this, I hope. Yes, so dash is the shortcut for go back to the previous thing. In the same way that you could also git checkout minus. Little tidbit here. I don't even, does the man page even mention that? I didn't see it in the man page. I don't know. I'll look again after. But this is, the designed thing for git switch. And this is, I think, where it gets its name from. Okay, an equivalent to that, do I have any remote branches in this repo? I don't. Okay, we actually have to clone another repo to show another thing. What's a repo that has branches? I saw this one today had branches, so we'll use this repo. Because the next thing is, if you have a branch that is unambiguously on a single remote, but you've not checked it out locally. So for instance, I don't have any of these branches checked out locally. You can call git checkout with that, with this part of the branch name, all repos scripts like this. And this does the equivalent of git checkout origin/this -b that, where the ... is the branch name. I just wasn't going to type it out again. And so this is another form of checkout that is sort of a shorthand, and there's actually the same shorthand in git switch. So you can see here that it created a branch, it set it to track this particular thing, and then switch to that branch. So you can see we're now in that branch. I actually use this shortcut all the time. It's really useful for checking out like pull request feature branches. Now, usually when I run this command, I then do git branch -u origin/main. This is to set the upstream, and then git status will tell me the difference between origin, main, and whatever. Turns out you don't actually need to do -u or this separate step. That's just how I think about it in my brain. If we go back and do this again, let's delete the branch, all repo scripts, git checkout this. There's actually a -t to this, which sets the tracking branch, I believe. No. Well, there is in git switch. So anyway, let's show the git switch version, which is the same. It's just git switch and then that branch name. And it will do the same, like check out that branch and switch to it. And it sets this as the tracking thing. And I believe there's, I mean, I didn't actually write this in my notes, so I'm just guessing here. I believe you can set the tracking branch there. Only one reference expected. Maybe not. Anyway, git switch works the same as git checkout for checking out, doing this guessing branch thing. And there is actually a no guess option. So if you want to disable this behavior, you can, which is this here. But this is pretty useful here. The other thing, or the next checkout operation, is checking out something that is not a branch. And this will, by default, take you to a detached head state. So for instance, if I check out a tag, I don't know, git checkout v1.2.0, you'll get this whole long blurb that I'm sure you've seen before, where it's telling you that you're not on a branch, you're in a detached head state. If you run git status, it'll tell you what you're detached at. If you check out just like a commit, it'll tell you what commit you're at, but you're not on a branch right now. You're at this detached head state. And git checkout sort of does this kind of implicitly and maybe not the best. This is a separate operation from the other checkout commands we showed before, but it behaves differently. In git switch, this is explicit. So you can do git switch detach, and then, I don't know, some commit here. Actually, I don't even think you need detach. Head is now at this, project now does nothing. Okay, I don't, whatever that was. I'm actually interested, do you need detach here? Fatal, a branch is expected got commit. I actually really like this. I think this is a good ergonomics here, in that it's not, automatically taking you into this weird state that you probably don't want usually, but making it very explicit that you need to call detach here. So that's another operation, going to a detached head. There is also doing an orphan checkout. This you almost will never need. I've used it, I think, probably about 5 times. What this does is it creates a brand new history. So if you git log on this, we have never made a commit here. It creates a brand new branch, brand new history, unrelated to, oh, it even doesn't list it in git branch. That's strange to me. And stages every file that's in the repository. I mean, you can, well, jumping ahead, but you can, git reset this, git commit, allow empty initial commit, and this, we're gonna skip the pre-commit hooks. Do not as I say. All right. Yeah. This will actually create a separate history on a completely isolated branch from other branches. It is an orphan branch, and git switch also has an equivalent of this. So if let's be on main. I've made a mess. Let's be on main so that we can demonstrate the same thing again. If you git switch -- orphan new branch name 2, it's also going to make a, but interestingly enough, it doesn't have the weird wart that checkout does, in that the contents are all gone here. So I didn't have to do that weird RM dance that I did before. This is actually nicer. Wow, that's cool. But anyway, this is another way to make another orphan history. Again, git branch is a little bit weird here because it doesn't show the current branch. I wonder if you do git branch show current. So it knows we're on this branch, but it doesn't display it in git branch. Very suspicious. Kind of weird. Anyway, you'll almost never use -- orphan, but there's an equivalent in git switch. Okay, on to the next checkout operation. We need to make some modifications to show this one off, because this is the discard modifications one. So let's say that we, I don't know, put some contents in here, and where's clone? Sure. Print I. Some differences here, just in a few files here. You can use git checkout to discard changes from these. If you do git checkout -- it's going to discard changes in everything. You can also select particular paths here. So let's say I only want to discard changes in readme.md. And now we look at status and you can see that it is back to that. The equivalent to this is git restore. This is our first git restore command. And it just sort of works the same. So git restore -- setup.py. This separates your path specs. This actually is implicitly using -- work tree, which we'll show later, but for the most part, you don't need to think about -- work tree because it's default behavior. So you can see here, we have discarded changes to this file. And you could also git restore -- dot to discard all the changes, which is great. I really want those changes back now because I'm going to show the next thing. So I'm just going to put new lines in things because that's the easiest way to make a couple changes. Not really interesting changes, but a bunch of new lines. And then the next one, which this is a command that I showed git add -p, but there's also git checkout -p, and we'll show git reset -p, and we'll show git restore -p as well. This is an interactive mode for, in this case, discarding changes to the repository. So if we do git checkout -p, it's going to drop us into this little interactive thing and ask us whether we want to discard hunks. So we could say, like, maybe I don't want to discard this one, so I'll say no. Maybe I do want to discard this one, and yeah, let's discard this one too. And so you can see we've interactively discarded hunks there. Now, of course, I'm going to put them back because I'm going to show you the equivalent with restore. So we've put those back again, and unsurprisingly, the command is also git restore -p. This, again, defaults to work tree. We'll show later for staging and unstaging things, but takes us into the same interactive thing. I'm actually not going to run through this because we don't really care so much about this in this particular case. Cool. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of our 11-ish operations done. All right, on to the next one. And this one, I think, is the one that doesn't have a really good equivalent. It does have an equivalent, but doesn't have a good equivalent in git restore, which is if you want to check out a subset of files from a particular revision, and by default, it will stage them. So for instance, if I want to check out, I don't know, let's check out the pre-commit config and the setup.cfg from version 1.29.0. I don't know, completely arbitrary operation here. But what this is going to do is it's going to find the file contents of this in this particular revision, and then it's going to set them in my working directory and stage them at the same time. So if we look at git status now, you can see that these two files are staged. If we look at the contents of them, this, for instance, you can see that it's at 1.29.0. And if we get diff -staged, you can see that it's undone some amount of history. But we've basically cherry picked, no, I don't want to use the word cherry pick. We've basically taken the contents from that revision and brought them into our branch without any of the history, without any of the patch history of it. Just basically splatted the file contents there. In this case, it's undoing good stuff, but just to demonstrate stuff. And there is an equivalent to this. Let's get reset. Well, again, I'm old, so I'm using the old commands. So sue me, but we'll show the equivalent to this command later. This is going to unstage those changes, and then you know what? We'll use git restore. We'll use the new commands to undo the working directory changes. So you can see we're back to that 3-file modified state. Okay, so I want to show you the equivalent to that checkout command that we just did with restore, and it is a mouthful. So the equivalent to that command is git restore. You specify -- source to say which thing it's going to retrieve things from, and then you have a list of path names. This is actually not equivalent to that command, but I'm going to run it and show you what it does, and then we'll show the other command that is equivalent. I actually think this one's better though, which is kind of nice. So what this has done, you notice these are not staged. Whereas when we used git checkout, these became staged. I actually think the staging behavior is a little bit annoying because I'm almost always doing it and then undoing the staging and then fiddling with it and then restaging it later. But I actually like this behavior better. It doesn't stage these files, but it does set their contents, which is really good. So you can see here we have 1.29. If we look at the diff of that file, you can see that it's undone those changes. I actually really like this behavior. This is the better version of that. So I'll show that get restore command. Technically, to have the exact behavior of the checkout command, you need to also do -- staged here. This will modify the staging area. And you also need to do -- work tree, because if you specify -- staged, it undoes the default behavior, which is work tree. And so you need this absolute mouthful of a command to be the equivalent of, you know, this chunk being checkout instead of restore staged work tree source. And so this will do exactly what that checkout command does. So you can see here, stage those files, and their contents are the ones at that particular revision. So a bit of a mouthful. This command is definitely worse, but I actually think that this command is better and has a better behavior. So I really like this. Kind of neat. Okay, those are all of the checkout behaviors. Well, the ones that I know of, or at least the ones that are common enough that I've used before. Now we're going to move on to get reset. And reset has two main behaviors. One of them is to unstage files, which we've sort of shown already. And the other is to adjust the commit revision of the current branch. Let's show those. Well, it's kind of like 3 or 4 operations, but let's show the resetting ones first. So let's say, well, actually, great. We already have some files which are staged, so we can show the reset behavior already. In fact, I've already shown you get reset and then a file path, which is how you make something not part of the staging area here. I've already shown you this, so let's show the new version of this, which is get restore -- staged and then paths. So what this will do is it'll unstage, it'll modify the staging area and restore the contents of this to the current revision. So you can run this, you can see here that we have unstaged the contents. Obviously the diff is still present here. And then if you wanted to also remove actually let's I think actually hold the phone. Let's go back to this staged thing here. I think if you do get restore -- stage -- work tree and then this file, I don't know why it tab completed wrong. I think this will actually unstage it and discard the changes at the same time. Yeah. Ooh, okay, that's kind of nice. Ooh, I kind of like that. Of course, this is a absolute mouthful. I don't expect me to remember that, so I don't expect anyone to remember that. But yeah, -- stage is going to remove it from the staging area. -- work tree is going to remove it from the work tree, the files. And so if you do both, it's going to, you know, unstage it and discard the changes at the same time, which is kind of cool. But anyway, the equivalent for reset is just this -- staged part, and I guess you can chain them together, which is kind of cool. In the same way that we showed get add -p in the other video, we showed get checkout -p and get restore -p in this video, you can also get restore -- staged -p, and this will interactively go through the stage contents and allow you to, you know, choose whether to discard them or not, or whether to unstage them or not. So you can say like, no, I don't want to do that one. Yes, I want to unstage this one. And so you can partially unstage a file here in the same way that you would do. And then the last operation of get reset does not have an equivalent. And in order to do that, let's actually just, well, we'll do get restore. We'll use the new commands. Get restore staged dot. That will unstage the contents, and then get restore -- dot to discard all the changes. Okay, so we're back to a clean repository. The last 2 operations are get reset -- soft and get reset -- hard. There's another option to get reset, but these are the only 2 that I really think about. One of them is get reset -- hard. This takes your current branch, which right now is at this commit, and it will forcibly change the contents of your repository and the commit that your branch points to something else. So if you do get reset -- hard to, I don't know, head, well, let's just use a tag 1.19.0. Is that the one we used before? Yeah. And so what this has done is it has changed our working directory to, well, it has changed the commit that main points to. So if we do get rev vars head again, it now points at this commit, whereas it pointed at this commit before. And it also changes the contents of the repository at the same time. So it has also set the contents to that at this particular revision. So this is what get reset -- hard does. And there's no equivalent in restore or switch. This is a unique behavior to reset. There's also get reset dash soft, which I use pretty often to like manually meld commits together. I know rebase dash I is probably a slightly better way to do this, but I find that sometimes it's easier for me to think about it in my head to like reset soft and then fiddle around with the bits and then make a new commit. But let me show you reset soft. Let's reset hard back to origin main. We're back at our default behavior here. If we get reset dash soft, let's just go back, I don't know, 5 commits. What this is going to do is it's going to change what our branch points to. So you can see here we're 10 commits behind, get rev parse head. But it's going to leave the contents of the repository to what they were and stages them. So this is the updates that happen between those 5 commits. So this is the equivalent contents to what the current main branch is, but we have moved the little pointer back a few commits. We've erased some commits, essentially. And now if you wanted, you could make a new commit that allows you to have, you know, different output here to like redo these commits. But anyway. And this get reset dash soft also does not have an equivalent in switch or restore. This part of reset is still part of reset. There's no equivalent behavior there. But anyway, I guess to summarize, the old commands check out and reset are replaced by switch, which is primarily for creating and switching branches, and restore, which is for discarding or unstaging changes. Hopefully you found this useful. You know, I certainly learned something while doing this. Oh, I guess I should show you my notes. I'll just put them on the screen. You can pause if you want. Sorry, the text is small, but it is what it is. But yeah, thank you for watching. If there are additional things you would like me to explain, leave a comment below or reach out to me on the various platforms. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.